Hello weekend warriors, and welcome back to the workshop. In this video, and I know it's been a while since I've done a video, and that's because I set my physical rehabilitation. Yes, that's it, I was in rehab. No, I set back my physical therapy on the shoulder rebuild back a little bit by doing something stupid, but we're over that now. So we're doing a new video, and that video is doing a mod to the Shopsmith Mark V. Now, the Mark V was built from early 1950s, like 1953, until the late 80s, and then they started making the 510 and 520 and updating it. Now they're all the way up to the Mark VII. And this guy was advertised as a 5-in-1. It was a table saw, a drill press, a overhead router, a horizontal bore machine, a lathe, and came with attachments came with a joiner attachment, and you've seen me use the bandsaw attachment, and there's belt sander attachments. There's all kinds of attachments you can get. They're still making them today, and all the parts that they make, or all the accessories they make for the new Shopsmiths fit the old Shopsmiths. So that's a good thing. I like a company that does that. Anyway, what this one wouldn't do, that the new ones do, is an under-table router. Well, I changed that. I made this guy do work as an under-table router. And that took a little bit of a modification. It's an easy mod. It's not dangerous at all. And I'm going to show you how I did it and show you the extra pieces I had to make and the allowances I had to make things work just right. So hang on, I'm going to move the camera a little bit, show you a quick mock-up, and then we'll get on with the rest of it. Hang on. Okay, what I have here in front of me is my Shopsmith simulator. Now, these are the tubes, or these are the ends, the bases, that a Shopsmith normally comes with. I've got a base, which they call this end. They call this end the headstock with a tie bar. So in the original configuration, what you would do, and the motor would be sitting here and all that good kind of stuff, what you would do is you could throw a quick release like that, and the Shopsmith would tilt up, and you could do all your overhead drill press or overhead routing, all those kind of functions like that. When you needed to go back to horizontal functions, you just drop back down. And of course, these are not the tubes it comes with. These are just my mock-up tubes. Goes down, and you tie the quick release back down, and it becomes a solid piece again. Now what I did is I eliminated the headstock with the tie bar, and I added another base piece. The base piece is held into place here with a pin going through a pivot bar that goes through this section right here. So what I did is I drove that pin out, and then I drove the pivot bar out, and I made my own pivot bars, and let's go look at that. All right, what I have here is the base piece that I purchased off of eBay, and it's from a later model Shopsmith. So the weight tubes were a little bit bigger than they are now, and the weight tubes are still the same size pretty much. So I had to do a little bit of sanding on the inside to increase maybe by 1/100 of an inch. It didn't take very much, but it took that much sanding to get the weight tubes to fit in. And then I made my own pivot pin. Now this pivot pin works both as a pivot and a locking pin. And this was the original, where the original headstock and tie bar went. So this is the end I would normally use to flip it up into the drill press position. So because I drove the locking pin out, I have to put in my own locking pin. It's just a nail, but it works just fine. And also works as a T-bar for pulling out the pin. Now the pin started out as a 3/4 inch piece of bar stock. So all I did was knock it down to size. I put it in my lathe once again. I chucked it up, and I took a file and I rounded down one end so it would slide in. And I used the drill press function of the Shopsmith, set with my table at 45 degrees, and drilled myself a couple little holes there. One for the lock and one for the T. And so that's this guy. So you saw it dry out clean enough. And it goes back in just as cleanly. Of course, I did a little bit too far that time, so I now have to find my lock pin location. There we go. Lock back down. So I've already shown the overhead operation on this guy. So let's go ahead and see what I had to do to tilt it the other way. Okay, so conversion from the horizontal mode to either one of the vertical modes is a piece of cake. Now in this case, I'm going to go to the under table router mode. So, and it doesn't matter if I'm going over or under table, you still follow pretty much the same steps. First, let's get the table out of the way. Now, you'll notice on a Shopsmith, the blade height doesn't adjust, the table height does. Some people don't like that. I don't mind it a bit. It's not a big deal to me. Anyway, move the table off to the side. And you see it adjusts, height adjusts with the use of this lever. But in the mode we're coming up to, we're not going to be able to use this lever, and you'll see why. Anyway, now we want to pull the guard and the saw blade. I've got the universal Allen wrench for all Shopsmith products here. And everything is locked in place by the use of that Allen. Okay. I'm just going to move the table aside for a moment. Now, to bring this to the under table mode, all I have to do is come over to this pin and get him started out a little bit here. And out he comes. And up we go. Okay, I pivoted the head right out of the camera frame, so I had to go back and take care of that. Now, what would have been a smart thing for me to do was to make sure that this head was all the way to the base position before I started. But that's okay. It's not that heavy. Now, there is a lock over here on the side that you screw into place. And now, he's not going to fall down on me. Now we come back to the table. Now, in normal operation, you can adjust the height of the table because there's these gears in here that mesh with the table legs. But in order to work in the under table router configuration, and the new machines take this into consideration and they're geared on both sides of the table leg. Mine are not. So what I have to do is I got to get rid of the gears. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the lock assembly out and make sure I got all my pieces in one spot. And then I got some little screw down cam locks that go in to take the place. So that one goes in there. If I was standing on the other side, it would be much easier, but I wasn't standing on the other side, so that's kind of a dumb mistake. There we go. And now, I've got it turned around the opposite way. The table, that is. And now when I loosen up the table lock, it flattens out to the horizontal position for me. And then I can set the position of the table easy enough. Screw my little cams down. And nothing's going anywhere. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, and there we have it. The total cost to do this conversion to my Shopsmith Mark V was about $35, and that included shipping on the piece that came from eBay, the other base portion. And maybe an hour and a half of my time. So it really wasn't that expensive. It wasn't that big of a hassle, and you can see that. Yeah, I don't just throw a lever to tilt my Shopsmith up. I have to pull a pin, but big deal. You know, that pin pulls right out. 3 extra seconds. Now, why was this important today? Well, because I've got a couple projects coming up that requires multiple router tables. Now, I've still got the router table I made with the saw crate. I love that thing. It works great, and we're going to be using that. But so I don't have to go from setup to setup to setup. I need multiple router tables. So I want to make sure that everyone knows how I got this undercarriage router table out of an old Shopsmith that's not supposed to do this. And besides, if there's any Shopsmith users or future Shopsmith users out there that are hitting Craigslist and picking it up for $200-300, well, here you go. Here's another piece that you can add and another function you can use. So that's it for today. More to come. A lot more to come. But for today, this is it. So I'll see you when I see you. You guys keep up the good fight. Till next time. Bye.